In this lecture, we're going to resolve some of these edge cases that result in undesirable behaviors, like when we right-click on a worker that's currently building, it cancels the building. And sometimes our workers will choose to go to a building that is being built to return their supplies instead of coming to the main already built command post. Let's go. Let's start with this building in progress. While this worker is building, this is worker 5 for me, they have the build building command, they're executing the build building action, and their available commands are only this cancel building command. So if we open that up in VS Code, can handle is really not fully accurate. We're saying we can handle this regardless of what's going on as long as it's iBuilding builder. And on player input, all we're really filtering for are the available commands. And then we check if they can be handled. So when we right click, this still returns true, and we cancel building, which is really an undesirable behavior. We'd actually want the worker to do nothing when we right click and they're building. Any thoughts on how to resolve that? Well, remember in our command context, we added in the mouse button. So in the cancel building command can handle, we can just add context.commandable is building builder and context.button equals mouse button.left. Oh, let's shorten that to mouse button.left and add the using Unity engine input system low level. That means if we right click, we'll never execute this command, which is perfect because we want them to have to left click on the UI to cancel that building. It should be a very deliberate attempt. One problem down. Let's come back to Unity and take a look at that second problem. We take an arbitrary worker, and my command posts are still free, so if you've changed yours and you're following along, you may want to make sure it's still free. Build a command post just as close to the minerals as we can get. Then let's take all of these workers and tell them to gather, and we can see some of these workers decide this is the right command post to return to. If we select an arbitrary worker, worker 14, take a look on the behavior agent, we can see that the command post it found is that one, which is problematic because it's still being built. So let's come back to VS Code. In our find closest command post action, we can tell this is the one that's giving us bad results because it's just finding any building that has a unit SO that's equal to the command post building. Any thoughts on how to filter this one out? Well, we can check the building progress state with and building.progress.state equals building progress.building state.completed. We only want to go to completed buildings. And there's one more sneaky problem here. We're just picking the first nearby command post, but the order that physics overlap sphere gives us these colliders is not guaranteed to be sorted by distance. And we can actually see that over in Unity that this command post is farther away than this one. And some of these workers are traveling from this far left mineral to this command post. So it'd be great if we could sort these nearest command posts by the closest one to our current worker and only go to that one before we do this line of code. And that's this lecture's challenge. Create a new closest command post compare that will sort our nearby command posts by the closest to our current worker. Use that compare to sort the nearby command posts to ensure the workers pick the right command post. And a tip, because it's been a little bit, we've already done something very similar to this with the closest collider compare. So pause the video, update our find closest command post action to really give us the closest command post, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. If we come over to our Explorer, in our utilities, we have this closest collider comparer. Now, an iComparer requires that it's type safe, meaning that it tells us it must be of this type. And we chose to use a collider because that made sense before, but our base buildings are not colliders. They have colliders, probably, but we can't just directly use this. But we are going to do something very similar, just with a different type. So what I'm going to do is copy paste this closest collider comparer, rename that copy, call it closest command post comparer, rename the class, rename the constructor, change our iCompare type to base building. That means we have to change our compare function to base building. And that's all we have to do for this struct. Once we have this, back over in our find closest command post action, just before we assign command post value to our nearest command posts, let me close this Explorer. We can just do nearby command posts dot sort with a new closest command post comparer using the unit value transform position as our target position. Now we've got a sorted list, and we can pick the first one to assign the command post value. We don't need to do it if there are 0 because we're going to fail anyway. Let's come back to Unity and click play one more time. Let's go ahead and start building another command post. have all of our workers gather, and we would expect that none of them go there, at least until it's built, and then only if it's going to be the closest one, which could be a little bit challenging. Let's see if it actually gets picked. We should definitely not see any on the far left coming over here. Now that this is built, only a worker on this far right mineral should potentially go here. This worker actually might be a good selection. There we go. They went there, and we're not going to see anybody else unless they're really close over there coming to this one. That looks good. Let's take a look at one last edge case for our buildings. If we take a worker, tell them to build something, while they're building, deselect them, select them again. This is not the set of commands we expected to see. We expect that we could still cancel building that building, right? Why do we see this? Well, just a couple lectures ago in Abstract Commandable, we introduced this problem by having deselect set our command overrides to be null. Anytime we deselect a unit, we reset them back to that base state, which works, well, most of the time, except for this case. So we can see that we need to do something different when we select and deselect a unit, a worker specifically, because they're more complex than just this standard logic. That means we need to make both deselect and select virtual so we can override the behavior in subclasses. And we're going to need the decal projector to be protected as well. Let's go ahead and just copy, select, and deselect exactly as they are. Come over to the worker. And down here after all of our other public functions, let's paste those and mark them as public overrides instead of public virtual. We can see that we want to conditionally do something in deselect around the set command overrides. We don't want to set them if we're building, which luckily we already have a property is building. So we can just do if not is building, set those command overrides. And you know what? I don't think we need select. So we'll just override deselect here. Because in handle building event down here at the bottom, whenever we complete building, we want to reset the command overrides again. That way, as soon as we're done building, we'll reset those command overrides and we'll be good to go. We can just move the completed case up with our cancel and abort, so they're all doing the same thing. Let's take a look at that over here in Unity. Let's update the build time on the command post to something a little faster like 10. Click play. Select a worker, tell them to build that command post. Deselect them, select them again, and great, we see them there with the cancel building command. If we deselect them again, wait for the building to be complete, now they have their original commands again. If we say build, deselect, select them again, great, we have the right commands showing. That's all we've got on this lecture. Our building process and our interactions with in-progress buildings feels a lot better now. And when you're ready to move on, I'll see you on the next one.